Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 238. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group, and you can also ask us via our Twitter handle, Dumb SEO QS. With us today, we have Steve Garenza. Steve is an internet marketer from Scottstown. I've got to try and remember it. It's Scotts Hill, Tennessee.
There you go.
I didn't remember it. I looked it up here.
My life is on the internet.
Cool. And Tim Capper. Tim is an online conversion rate optimization specialist, and he's also a top contributor on the Google My Business community. And Tim hails from Corby in the UK. All right, let's look at our first question today. This one it's titled SEO Content for Inventory Pages. It's from Cassie Gavin, and Cassie said, what type of content would anyone recommend writing for ATV dealers / motorcycle dealers or lawnmower dealers when their website consists mainly of inventory pages? He said, I've been writing brand pages, creating authority and crawlable content for the major brands, and then from there trying to create product comparison pages for the top product categories or models. But if anyone has any ideas of strategies that would better help user intent, that would be great. I'm limited by the platform the site is on as well, so that is hurting me a bit, as I can't be perfect. As I can't perfect some of the technical factors or create or utilize a blog page.
It's a bit of a well, if you can't, if you don't have a blog page, it's going to be a little bit tricky. You're going to have to speak to the developers, obviously, and create something where you're able to, to add your content when you add content. But essentially, from my perspective, I'm assuming they have certain kind of brand of motorcycles or ATVs or lawnmowers. So your first thing there would be to be looking at, you could do tons of content around, BMW motorcycles. You could. This all boils down to a lot of kind of keyword research in terms of longer tails. So, I mean, I don't know anything about motorcycles, but it could be like a BMW. The different, or which is better, the BMW 750 versus the BMW 750i. It boils down to finding out the questions that people are really searching for on particular motorcycles, things like that. You could do, like you said, you can do the comparisons. Comparison between X lawnmower versus what lawnmower. Even if you could even go so far as filming comparisons. You could, which one gets further on a tank, on fuel, or if they're battery operated, which one gets further on battery, which one's better for longer gardens. You could really go to town and break a lot of things down. Film the experiment to see what cuts better on what, and what type of grass or what size, you know, you could film that, so that would also be uploaded with the page, so people could actually watch that. Same again, that would go onto the YouTube channel for that, for that particular company's YouTube channel. Motorcycles, again, you know, it really boils down to research on what people want. But if you're dealing with our ATVs, I'm assuming are like quad bikes, I suppose, what we call quad bikes. But yeah, you know, you could literally, it boils down to your keyword research, finding out what the user's intent is, what people are searching for. You can use, there's a lot of things to use. Firstly, you can use the search console and check out, you know, break things down in the search analytics with queries. You can use tools like SEMrush, where you can analyze phrase searches, keyword searches, related searches. There's another one which I've been trying out lately. Storybase is a new idea kind of generation tool, which you can play around with. There's quite a few out there. But the idea now for you is to, you know, to find out what people are actually searching for. Yeah, you know, people might search for BMW 750, but how many people are searching for which is better, or where can I get, or 750 versus 750i, or you know, there's just tons and tons and tons of stuff there which you need to research, find out your phrases, put them into a spreadsheet, because I'm just kind of guessing with motorcycles and quad bikes and lawnmowers, there's probably a ton of it. Break it down into, you know, what you can actually create content over, or what you feel you can create content over, and down. Also, even break it down as further as, can we film this? Can I create content on this? Can I create? So really think about, you know, on what kind of platforms and how many bits of this. And then once you start putting this, obviously you would need to put them into somewhere. So you're going to need to speak to developers and find out where you can, you know, if you can bolt something on to the site, and where you can put them and structure it just for ATV section, motorcycles and lawnmowers. And then, you know, when people click into that, literally you're answering every question under the sun. You're doing the comparisons, questions, you know, yeah, you literally go to town on this, but it all boils down to your initial bit of research. Yeah.
Well, the other thing you might want to look at is since these are ATV dealers, motorcycle dealers, and that, you're going to be looking at really local search. Very few people are buying ATVs and motorcycles long distance, because you want to get on one, you want to sit on it, make sure your feet touch the ground, and all these other issues. So you want to really make sure your local is taken care of, because you're not going to worry if you're in Chicago. You don't care if somebody in LA finds your website, because the odds of them buying a motorcycle from you are almost zero. So you want to focus really hard on making sure you're showing up in the map pack. You want to make sure your location stuff is taken care of as far as Google's concerned, or even the other search engines, so that and also make sure your mobile's taken care of, so you're coming up on people's phones properly.
Thank you, Steve. I was just waiting on. Was there anybody else wanted to add anything to that? I see William Rock has joined us from Kansas in the USA. William is a marketing strategist and coach. All right, so let's call that an answer for Cassie Gavin. I must point out the forum heroes that advances through the week. This one from the SEO Questions Facebook community. They make our job a little easier as well. People like Michael Stringer and Mary Davies, Jeff Ferguson, Jeff Jockich, Yeah, they're really much appreciated. All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Casey Marquis on hiding ads from bot traffic, it's titled. Casey said, I've got a cloaking question. My thanks in advance. I have a corporate client who wants to kill the ad server when a spider user agent hits the site. Officially, it will be because their advertisers said that they didn't want to pay for bot traffic, but so in turn they want to eliminate all bot traffic. The secondary benefit is that the spiders won't see the ads. Has anyone seen anyone try this and fail? Specifically, be de-indexed. The client runs their own internal ad network, and it's clear to me that they got slammed recently by either the Fred and the core update in February/March. To them, this is their way of keeping the ads and still trying to recover back up to the previous levels.
They never said what ad software they were running, because that can make a huge difference. I know there are several out there that we used to help with clients where, you know, they automatically disable themselves for bot traffic. I mean, yeah, there's rogue bot traffic out there, but the vast majority of it's, you know, well-identified bots that aren't going to run up your ad counts. So, you know, worrying about that isn't such a huge deal. I haven't ever seen Google specifically penalize anybody for not showing ads to Google, unless they are really overloading the pages against what Google thinks is good design, regardless of what the AdWords group says. Although that has been relaxed quite a bit, where they're penalizing you less for having more ads. And my guess is that's because the AdWords group finally got tired of listening to it.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else?
I think there was one program I used in the past, Ad Butler, and I think that's already built into their system. The way that, you know, the thing that I would be nervous about is the whole like link network. You know, trying to actually build out positive anchor text for ranking. That would probably be a no-no.
Excellent. Thank you, William. Mike Fisher-Kirshner. Mike has joined us from near Silicon Valley in the USA. Mike is Senior SEO Manager for Zendesk.com in the United States. All right, let's move on to question 3 on our run list. Usman Ghani asked a question titled Low Authority Backlinks. Usman said, hi all, for one of my websites, I was checking backlinks in Webmaster Tools and found that there are a total of 290 backlinks. Out of 290, 120 of the backlinks have a domain authority of less than 15. So what should I do in the case of low authority backlinks? Should I disavow them? Please advise. Note, this website has been hit by Panda in 2012 and still traffic is not fully recovered. Regards, Usman Ghani.
Well, Usman, I don't know why you're looking at the domain authority of links coming to you, unless you specifically went out and attempted to build those. You know, if your sites generate links naturally all the time, well, you know, if obviously people find them and enjoy them. And I can honestly say I've never actually looked at the domain authority of a single link coming to my site. I've looked whether it's natural or unnatural, whether it's spam, do I need to protect myself from it. I've never ever looked at the domain authority of it. If you know, if it looks natural, it looks legit, move on. You know, yeah, you know, we need to check. We need to keep an eye on links every now and again. Dive into them to see what's going on, just as a precaution, you know, to yourself. But hey, I would not get hung up on, you know, if a site's got a high DA or not. Your two things there should be: is this natural? Is this unnatural? And you know, do I need to protect myself from this, from potentially it being seen as an unnatural link or not? And that's really all you need to worry about. Do your check, move to the next one, move on. And I wouldn't be looking at, you know, if this was, you know, a high domain authority. And, you know, yes, you certainly don't want to be disavowing a perfectly natural, legitimate come from someone or a site that potentially just mentioned your product or whatever the case may be, but they may only just be a startup. But you know, they may have just, you know, it's natural link, great stuff, thank you very much. But I wouldn't be certainly disavowing them because they, you know, they don't have a great domain authority. It's whether that is either a questionable site, is it natural, unnatural, or potentially seen as spammy. And that's the only things that you need to worry about.
Excellent, thanks, Tim. Anybody else? All right, let's move on to the next. This one from Ted Rinshed. Can Googlebots see the hidden content in accordions? Ted said, just curious, can the Googlebots see the hidden content when you use Q&A accordions? The answers are hidden from public view until it is clicked on. I was wondering if this is hurting my SEO and keywords, etc.
So I answered this directly in the comments earlier on Facebook, and basically, assuming the content is in the HTML, Google can see it, but, you know, this big but, they may not actually, they decide not to value it very much. So there's good possibility they will dismiss it outright. Now, bear in mind that that's at least according to today for the desktop way of how they look at things. In the future, and supposedly, at least they've mentioned in advance, Google has stated that switch over to the mobile index, they will likely consider anything the kind of tabs or other read more type of experiences to acceptable way of reviewing content. But as of today, based on current desktop factors, they have the right and to completely dismiss any of the value.
Is that just JavaScript accordions, or is that like style sheet accordions? Because I know that you can build accordions in the style sheet and basically still get seen, but it doesn't matter.
Right, as long as it's something that's hidden, Google can recognize if it's something that's used JavaScript or just like some type of CSS or kind of a drop down and it's only shown when you click on something. Google generally will not value that content for the most part. They can see it, they can index it, but they may not actually value it very highly.
How does that work within e-commerce? Like, say you have the tabs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Videos, more images, more details, warranty information.
Same thing. For the most part, they consider anything that a user has to click on from the search result, meaning that you don't consider it very valuable. If a user has to actually go and find it, they have to struggle to find it. They built in this, they basically consider that to be less valuable than something you show right off the bat.
To add a little bit to that, we did some testing last year with specifically product pages and tabs for reviews and more details on the product and everything. Because, you know, if you look at Amazon, they've got it all built into a single page rather than forcing tabs. And we did see a lot better results with all the content spread out on the page and having users simply scroll up and down versus hitting the little tabs. From a design point of view, I hate it, but that's what that's what we saw in our test.
That's interesting. Like, what kind of test were you running? Like, how big of a test, and like, how are you?
We were comparing. It was an e-commerce client with about, I want to say, about 1,500 product SKUs, and so we didn't do an A/B split test. We did a 3-month snapshot and then changed the website for 3 months.
Okay.
Simply because they didn't spend the money on a true split test.
And
adding the reviews and everything was stacked on the page versus tabbed, and the stacked pages did quite a bit better.
Are you able to say by how much? I'm curious because I did a test. Oh gosh, 6-ish years ago. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see how it's held since then.
It's kind of hard to say for sure. I know that over the same, the same windows of time, traffic increased probably 20-25%, and conversions actually went up, which I thought was interesting. And I don't know if that's because the reviews were easier to get to, or if people just naturally scroll versus click. But we did see probably another 2 or 3% increase in conversion rate.
Okay.
Did you also do any like heat map studies where you were able to see how far down the page they went, and then where they actually dropped?
Yeah. What we did was the test we're running now is we actually have 2 buy buttons now. One in a traditional location right below the product stuff, and then one clear at the bottom. And we're starting to see not a huge number, but a reasonable number of people actually making it to the bottom of the page to hit the buy button, which always surprises me.
That is cool. Yeah. It's interesting to put another buy button down there. I never thought of doing that. But then again, I haven't built
if I could figure out a way to get 5 more of them in there, I would. Below each category, I'd stick another buy button because, I don't know, people like to click buy buttons.
Excellent. We've just been joined by David Rozam from the sunny south of the UK. And David is the oldest man in SEO. He may be the oldest man in the world. He can be found at writing.
Healthy on it, I may say.
Anyway, let's.
Some of my younger colleagues are looking a bit, just a bit dodgy, a bit ground down by life and circumstances and things.
All right.
Anyway, thanks for the intro.
You're welcome. And, let's move on to the next. We're up to number 5 on the run list. Andy Terry asked a question titled "Choosing Meta Keywords." Andy said, "I'm a graphic designer and I'm sorting out my website. What kind of meta keywords should I be looking to add? Many thanks."
Well, Andy, search engines really haven't used, well, they say they've ignored meta keywords, I think, going on the past 10 years now. Essentially, if you really want to use them, your meta keyword is generally dictated by what's on your page. So, for example, your landing page for graphic design, meta keyword for that would be graphic design, maybe graphic designers. That's it, if you were going to use it. If it landed on I don't know, you've got a page 3D design, 3D design and drawing, then your meta keyword for that page would be 3D design, 3D drawings. And that's it. Don't spam them. Don't go crazy. Even though if you're going to use them, 2 or 3 tops. but the page that you're on dictates the meta keyword really that you're using as such. There's no point picking a meta keyword that doesn't exist on the page.
Yes, and generally, Andy got the same message on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. All right, let's call that a wrap, unless anybody else wants to add something. Okay, let's move to the next. Number 6 on the run list is from Darshit Sharma, titled Targeting the US with French Private Blog Networks. Darshit said, hi, I have some French PBNs. All articles there are in French. If I give a link to my site, which is in English and is targeting the US from those private blog networks, will it be beneficial or not? They are high quality PBNs.
It took all I could do to not be a real snarky smartass on this one, because I've only seen one in 15 years, one high quality PBN, and they spent tens of thousands of dollars developing it. So anytime somebody says quality PBN right off the bat, it automatically puts them in a different category for me. But in general, if we just want to talk international linking and international SEO, unless you have an international product, links from other countries generally don't have any effect. That we've seen, especially if you're talking one link or a handful of links from a PBN. The only thing you're probably going to see is a penalty for unnatural linking.
Thank you, Steve. Anybody else? Anybody else want to berate Darshit?
Well, I don't want to berate, but something's going on because the last 3 weeks in a row, people have asked about PBNs and how do I make them and how do I do it, or can I? So someone has published, maybe Black Hat World published a freaking article on PBNs or something, because everybody's asking about PBNs lately. It's like, I'll go back to the whole flip side here. I mean, if you have this high quality, PBNs, you can make legitimate money out of them with advertising, not necessarily links. All of these massive magazines out there, magazine houses and that, they're all PBNs. Most news sites are all PBNs. They only become dangerous when you start selling links, essentially. You can make a lot of money then on advertising. You create a great high quality PBN, great quality, each has its own kind of readership. You have your editors, your journos, and you can make some great money on advertising, fantastic money on advertising. Don't think of them as just a link, because one link here, it's not going to do anything for anyone. And in the end, in the end of it, it may or may not destroy your actual, your hard-earned work. So think, if you've created a PBN, which in your mind you feel is great, build on it, but use it in terms of advertising revenue. Think of it in terms of all of these massive Vogue and Home and all of these things. They're all PBNs. Think of it in terms of that. Don't think of it in like, oh, a link here just to make some other website rank for like, and you want to charge them like $50. If you're going to do something that's great, do it great. Forget about the links and crap. That's just only going to hurt you in the long run.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else before we move on from this one?
I'd probably add one thing. I do a Google search out there for, PBN Google update. You're going to find a lot of articles, recent articles about exactly what we were talking about today. But do some research before you really get even further involved with your PBN. But user experience, quality. I'm gonna get off the soapbox on that one. But yeah, do some search out there. You know, you can find even on Moz all the other updates that go along with what's going on with the changing of Google all the time.
Excellent, thanks, William. Okay, let's move on to the next. This one from Ted Rinched. He's asking, will I get penalized for duplication? He said, I just completed a few new pages on my website. Will I get penalized for duplication if I post the exact same article and a backlink on Reddit or another guest blog site?
There isn't a penalty for duplication, you know. Oh, Christine is saying the same thing. Look, there isn't a penalty for duplication. Essentially, Google finds one, you know, finds it here, finds it there, and goes, okay, which one am I going to show? I'm not going to show all of them, because essentially if somebody searched for it, you know, there'd be the same article for, like, you know, in 10 slots, which makes 0 sense. They just want to serve it once. They will decide which one do I want to serve. And generally, they'll pick a more, you know, a higher authority page or site somewhere. And in this case, you know, it'd probably be Reddit or another one of them that have been around a long time, and go, yeah, okay, look, I found it here. And they've probably found it quicker, you know, when you've published it on one of these, which they crawl all the time, rather than yours, which they may not visit all the time. But regardless, they'll probably pick that one and display that one. In that case, you've just lost, you know, the people coming to your site. You know, you spend all this time creating a great piece of content on your site. You may have done research on it. You may have even spent money on research on it. And then it's on your site, but then you syndicate it out, you know, or you duplicate it to these other places, who essentially, based on their entire domain authority, or will you know, filter yours out, and nobody's coming to your site. You know, so the way to do it is, if you're going to create some great stuff on your site, create it on your site. You then market it out, and you can use Reddit, and you can use these other things, but don't duplicate the entire thing. Create kind of like almost like a little, you know, a teaser. So create another paragraph kind of teaser, which you know, captures people's imaginations, or the reader, on what they want to read, gives them a little bit of the insight. I mean, you see it all the time with, I mean, that, well, movies do it all the time. Creates a little bit of insight into it, and then that makes them go, oh, wow. And then they want to actually, you know, go through to your site to read it, because, you know, your site is where you want the people. I mean, I don't know what particularly you do, but essentially, you know, every site wants their traffic. You want the traffic, and I don't know what you're doing, whether you're selling, whether, you know, or whatever the case may be. But if you've spent the time and the money, you want the people on your site. So publish it on yours, and then create a little teaser to get and market it out there. You can do it in social, on other, you know, on other channels, wherever you feel that market is, or the readers would be, and push it out to them. But you don't give them all the info. You create a nice little tease, come over here and have a read. And that's ideally the way you want to do it.
Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? All right, let's move to the next. This one from Kelvin Go on the changing a company name for SEO purposes. Kelvin said, I hope someone can help me regarding SEO. I'd just like to ask a few questions. Currently, the name of my company is Red Eye Production. I'm thinking of maybe changing it to see if it will help later on in regards to SEO. I tried Red Eye Media Production, but of course I'm sure there will be other people with that site already. I'm in Singapore, and the other sites are located elsewhere in the world. Worst comes to worst, I may think of changing the company name entirely. I do photography, videography, and graphic designs. The goal is to have my company name high up in the search engine, of course. Can someone help to answer my question?
This is one of my hot button issues. I am not a fan of making business decisions based on SEO and algorithms. If you're going to change the name of your company, change the name of your company for your branding reasons, for business reasons, and don't worry about the other issues of SEO and all of that, because SEO and algorithms change. And if you're going to be chasing the algorithm with your business name, you're going to be changing your business name every few years. And that's just not how you build a brand. You know, if everybody did that, we would have this revolving door of changing business names. And it's just it's a bad way to run a business. Personally, I would never recommend that. Now, if you wanted to include your services in your business name somehow, instead of Red Eye Productions, maybe Red Eye, photography, that makes more sense, because now your customers will understand what you do just by the name of your company. And whether that helps with SEO or not, it should be not even asked. It should be asked, is this going to help me with my customers?
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with Steve. I work in SEO, but my business is called Online Ownership. It's got, that's the kind of brand I'm trying to build. Hasn't got SEO in. Yes, in the old days, people would get a slight benefit from having a keyword in there, and over time, yes, you assume that there's a benefit, because you might type in, photography company Singapore, and you see a domain name that says photography company Singapore.com in, and it's appearing, up there, and you assume it's because of the domain name. Well, what you haven't looked at is the content they produced, how long they've been around. Do they produce great stuff? Do they have a lot of users? Are they mentioned a lot of places elsewhere? Do they run an event and conference courses? And you know what I mean? You don't know entirely what they're doing based upon just by this one thing. EMDs, yes, they used to have a kind of a significant thing, but if you're building, and if you've got a great site, it's properly put together, you're slowly, building up your content on the site. You do a media, I don't know, you do what's a media production? You do like a little advert for a local company once a month, and you put a little thing up on YouTube, and you're slowly building up your authority. Over time, Red Eye will, be positioned above someone else that's called Singapore Photography. It's about building a brand and building everything around your site as such. And it's not just the name. Your name is not going to catapult you overnight. If you took the one site and transformed it into another, another domain, the exact same site, just with photography in it or media in it, or an entire domain name change, you're not going to be catapulted into stardom overnight. So exactly what Steve said. This is your brand you're building. This is what you want people to associate with. Someone's not going to remember Photography Services Singapore. Oh yeah, who is that company I use? Photography Services. It doesn't even ring. It's like, oh, who did I use? I used those Red Eye guys. Red Eye. Build your brand, mate. Build your brand.
Yep. Many a true word spoken. Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Let's move on to the next. Patty Mantaloons asked a question today, I think it was today, on bounce rate validation. He asked in the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. Patty went on to write, scenario 1, visitor lands on a page, reads a bit, then leaves the website, equals a bounce in Google Analytics. Scenario 2, a visitor lands on a page, subscribes to the newsletter, and then leaves the website. How do I prevent this as being seen as a bounce in Google Analytics?
So you can, when you're subscribed to the newsletter, you can essentially create a thank you page for subscribing, and by having it be a new page, you can set it as a goal event. That new page essentially is a second visit, second page view, which then won't count as a bounce rate, as a bounce, and thus affect your bounce rate. So that's pretty much the simplest way. If you're unable, though, to create a actual thank you page for signing up, then you can add essentially a virtual page view as a part of that. So if they hit submit, then that just automatically creates a virtual page view. Essentially, you're just looking as a way to figure out how to create some type of interaction, and then Google Analytics will no longer consider somebody subscribing and leaving as a bounce.
Can I
Thank you,
bring up my orange box to stand on? It's my bi-weekly complaint about people being fixated with bounce rate. Forget it. It doesn't mean anything, or at least, as Alan Blywise says later, I think, it means so many things that it's next to useless. Measure something that has got one meaning and helps you. Don't get worried about it. It's something that everyone seems to get caught up in at some stage. But to be honest, I don't actually bother to read it or look at it or even report it.
I wouldn't be so blasé about not caring about it. You just need to be very careful about and understanding it and making sure that your metrics are properly set up so you can understand it.
Okay,
and which
let's split hairs.
No, I think I think there's an important part to that, because if you've got it understood and you've got a page or two that have an extremely high bounce rate, you want to make sure you look into understanding kind of what's going on and why. So if I think that's what you want to be kind of using it for. But yeah.
Well, even with your advertising, I mean, a bounce rate is going to be you're spending money to get to that page. And if they're leaving and they're not buying anything, or they're not clicking through the next page to look out what else you have, like About Us or your warranties, stuff like that, then yeah, you want to be able to funnel that traffic back through and figure out why it's bouncing. Yeah, I don't look at a bounce rate. Same thing in a newsletter. I like your idea, Mike, on being able to have a secondary page so you can get rid of that bounce rate. But if you just focus on bounce rate, like you said, David, everybody's going to be like confused because there's too many metrics in that, and you have to really start to judge based off of even location. So geo-targeted information. So if I'm only focused on, one small radius, my bounce rate is going to be super high for everything else. Right.
I just want to point out one thing Patty said on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. He said, the scenario I picture is, oh, this page is great. I found the perfect content. Oh, look, I can subscribe to a newsletter. Let me just do that before I forget. Said no person ever. Anyway, there's my mic. I thought my mic must be muted. All right, let's move on to the next. Done it already. Let's go. This one from Lauren Baker on Bing and SSL migration. She said, dumb question. Unlike Google, Bing and Bing Webmaster Tools seems to pick up the HTTPS after an SSL migration and data all in one area? Is it needed to set up a new Bing account like in Google, or can I just leave the Bing running?
Well, my last time, I did one migration. I'm echoing really bad. Let's try it again. Am I still echoing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so with Bing, there's a setting in there where you can, I forgot exactly where it's at, but it's migrate site to HTTPS, and it's going to be still in the same dashboard, just changing a setting. Let me see if I can find it. But it basically stays in the same thing, because if you try to actually create another one, it basically says you already have one there, and it won't actually replicate it from what I understand, what I tried.
Okay, is the popular vote that we all move on at this one? All right, let's go to Madeline Ross's question. And it's titled Site Speed Using W3 Total Cache and Page Speed Insights. Page speed is slow. There's a lot of JavaScript and CSS. Added the scripts from Page Speed Insights to W3 Cache, which improved speed greatly, but it breaks the site. Tried a customized version instead, and it still broke the site, so I've had to remove it all and go back to the beginning. I have removed unused plugins and optimized images. Any ideas how to deal with this? Thanks.
Yeah, so that was with the last update, and it killed my site also. So I moved to WP Rocket, I think it is. I'll just double check. Anyway, yeah, so you still need to, that should generally not break your site. I think it's a year or something like that. That generally doesn't break your site. But if you do have any issues with it, it's you know, it's hell of a lot easier, hell of a lot, you know, compresses really nicely. Yes, it's WP Rocket. But I did have one issue on, it's been a while now, I can't quite remember, but they have, because it's a purchased product, you know, they have, obviously you can email, they have the online little chat pop-ups, and even with that, I sorted out the entire, all the issues in like one go, and I'm a bit of a dunce when it comes to a lot of this. So yeah, you know, my advice would be to spend the $20, go to WP Rocket. The basic install, you know, trumps anything W3 offers or does in terms of your site and compressions. But then if you really want to go, you know, full on hardcore, and you get stuck, their guys will help you. You can also even grant them access, and their devs will even sort out any issues within your site. That is you know, debug anything. So yeah, hands down WP Rocket if you want to go there.
Excellent, Tim. Okay, so anybody else on this one? Okay. From Gaz Underhill, he said, I've done the SEO basics. What to do next? He said, hi people, I could do with some feedback on what to do next. We are a new e-commerce site based in the UK. I'm using a lot of free trial tools to help with our on-page, off-page SEO. We've managed to get a 90% score with SEMrush with no errors. My screaming frog scans are limited, but not much is showing up for us to improve. We do Facebook ads, which we are finding very cheap and successful. We're using WordPress with a purchase theme, which we find amazing. The scheme isn't showing up on the Moz bar, but it shows up in Google Console. Schema. The only errors we get are entry markup, microformats.org. Hang on, I went past myself there. Let me just try and catch up. Sorry about that, guys. Yes. Okay, schema isn't showing up on the Moz bar, but it does show up in the Google Console. Missing an update, which I assume is a WooCommerce issue and Tim's favourite platform. And with any luck, when we do the next big update, we'll get fixed. The site speed is good. HTTPS implemented. Thanks in advance, and the site is hippieclothingshop.co.uk. Sorry for the bad read there.
It sounds as if Gaz has done some good work technically on the site. I think the 90% score on SEMrush is pretty impressive. It's without looking at the site, I would say your next stage is to have a look at your content. This is where e-commerce sites fall down. They tend to have very thin content and lots of duplicated content because they have very similar things on each product page. Maybe I shouldn't have leapt in without reading the site, but I hadn't realised that there was an address at the end of the question. Anyway, yeah, I would say it sounds as if you've done a lot of good stuff there. If your site speed is good, do you mention site speed here? No, I would check site speed and then get on to lots of good content and get people linking to you through that good content. Will someone who's actually looked at the site please take over?
Yeah, okay. So look, it sounds like you've pretty much worked your way through all the kind of stuff on site. I'm hoping that I'm looking at the right site now. But yeah, you know, literally for you now, your area that you want to be going in is kind of longer tail, long form content, content that users can get involved with. In all honesty, okay, yeah, I suppose as hippie and boho clothing, I suppose your readers would ultimately be vegan and veggie, so I kind of get the vegan and veggie pancake day, but yeah, you know, I would really be ramping up this content. Yeah, I'd really be ramping up this content in terms of, I suppose you've got a very niche sort of market, and it's not mainstream, but I would certainly be looking at sort of content that, you know, other guys are producing. You know, you want to start looking at yeah, you do a ton of stuff. Like, okay, so for example, I mean, I've just checked in your catalog, and I've just picked the one thing here: dream catchers and sun catchers. Right. Well, I mean, off the top of my head there, I feel a very unique article coming on in terms of the origins of the dream catcher, where it originated from, what is a sun catcher, what's the difference between a dream catcher and a sun catcher, what's the idea behind it, how did it move to Europe, how did it come here, blah, 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 you know, and then you can showcase, you know, the different kind of things within, you know. So I'm kind of thinking you need to start, you know, you need to start really looking at longer tail user content that's going to entice your readers in. Once you get them in onto your site, you know, they can actually go through and look at your products. I think it's really now time to start user engaged content. Yeah, this is some yeah, dungarees and play suits, cheapers, man. You know, you could even go down the road. Now, look, some of these things, look, this is not my kind of style, but, you know, what you could even do interviews. I don't know if the people that do these prints on these things or the different makes of them, I don't know if they're well known. Do they have their own kind of little bit of cult following? Why don't you get them in for a video interview? Why don't you get into their shop, into their design studio, and spend a day filming them? They may have their own little following, their own little kind of cult following, which when you produce a nice little video of a day in the life of whatever designer the name is, they've got an article. They've got an article to read. More than likely, that particular designer will then also link to it when it's ready. You let them know, they approve it, they sign off that they're happy with the content that you're going to produce and publish, and they probably get it out there on social anyway. So automatically, you've got a whole little bit of cult following moving across to that. You know, start thinking about these. So, you know, all of these designers, you have the option of all the designers, who they are, on page, you know, a good blog article on them, a day in the life. Option of video content also, which you would showcase. You know, start thinking about like other fashion houses, in the sense that you create a lookbook in the season. So you know, that might not be your thing, but a lookbook with models in your certain, you know, your spring summer kind of stuff, that always gets some really good stuff. There's probably a lot of people out there, if you created a lookbook within your genre, that would share this socially. Pinterest also, they might, you know, they might, or Instagram. You know, start kind of thinking a little bit outside the box. And here's, I hate that term, but what about, you know, 400 hippies in, you know, Leicester Square doing doing something, you know, all in paisley dungarees.
That's what we mean. A group om.
Yeah, doing a yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is, now you need to get this out, and this can be in form of video content, answering questions, and user intent through video. It could be obviously blog content around the products, the designers, answering the actual questions in that sense. Figuring out who your customers are, what they search for. Once you know what they're searching for and what interests them, you can then start producing that kind of content around it. But you know, it's time now that the site's up, you've cleaned it up, now it's time to go big or go home. You know what, you may even, I don't know if any mainstream media would go with some of this, but they would probably, the Daily Mail would probably do something with, you know, 200 people in dungarees and festival hoodies running around Leicester Square doing some kind of yoga or something. I'm sure they publish that. Do you know what I mean? You need to start thinking about this, just getting it out there. Create your own identity. You know, there's you've probably never heard of it, but these guys, it's completely the opposite to what you guys are. But people, the Black Rifle Coffee Company, okay, now they they are American veterans who create, you know, it's about coffee, and obviously they're mad about guns and stuff. So it's totally the opposite to what you are. But what I'm saying is, take a look at their just random, crazy kind of YouTube stuff. They also have another company also. I can't remember the name at the minute. It skips my mind. But look, they just create totally random stuff, all to just sell coffee or mugs or accessories, coffee accessories. And it, you know, sometimes it's got nothing to do with coffee. So what I'm saying is, you need to really now start finding your identity and your persona socially. Seriously think about all your designers whoever do the prints, things like that. I mean, you know, and if you've, look, to see you've got an alpaca mixed Peruvian jumper. So boom, right now we want to do an article on alpaca wool, you know, and I know it sounds a bit crazy, but you know, people like this want to identify in terms of, or most people now want to identify in terms of where their products come from, what it's made from. And if I'm selling an alpaca mixed Peruvian jumper, a large percentage of them will want to know where this comes from. You know, they probably want to go down to the name of the freaking alpaca, you know, that it came from. But produce this kind of content, where you source it from, who the farmers are, you know, down to the farm in Peru that, you know, it came from. And you know, you can embellish every now and a little bit. You know, the alpaca farm is called, you know, make up a nice little name, and yeah. You know, what I'm saying is, you need to start really producing the content now that backs up your brand, your ethos, your clothing, and the questions that users search in and around your brands and what you do.
Excellent, Tim. If there's a pub in Leicester Square, maybe they could have 400 hippies doing shots with Tim Kappa.
Yeah.
Out drinking. He's Mr. Shandy, isn't he? I seem to remember.
I'm not sure that they serve shandy shots. All right, so Gaz, yeah, look, Tim loves your site, obviously, and I wish you the very, very best with it. Okay, let's move on to the next. We look forward to your following questions, Gaz. All right, let's go to Sujit Das. He said, the question's titled Analytics is showing referral traffic from my non-dub version. Sujit said, hi, my website is on dub. I double checked to see that it has no dub or non-dub issues. But analytics is showing referral traffic from my domain without the dub. What can be the problem?
One thing I would definitely check would be is Google Webmaster Tools, just to make sure that it's set for dub or versus the non-dub. The other thing would be, looking at the htaccess file and making sure that you're forcing one or the other, so you're not going to have that. That normally fixes the problem within analytics pretty quick.
Okay, anybody else? I think that covers it for Sujit anyway. I hope that is useful to you, Sujit. Okay, let's move to the next. It's number 14. Nathan Robertson asks a question titled SEO feedback, please. United Arab Emirates for United Arab Emirates clinics and hospitals site. He said, I'd like to ask for some feedback on this website, which is based in the United Arab Emirates for United Arab Emirates clinics and hospitals. What's your opinion? Did any of you guys have a chance to have a look at this site? Nobody? Uh-oh. While you're having a look, I had a look at it. I think if this is the one I'm thinking of, a lot of stock imagery, and it's on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group, David. You should be able to click go to on your, if you're using the run list, it should go to the actual post straight there. Yeah, and the one thing I noticed was that there was no address details, and even the contact page didn't even have a phone number, which is a killer for the Google quality raters when they look at a site. I mentioned that, and I had I didn't have any other ideas. Anybody else?
I didn't get a chance.
Well, we should do better for Nathan. Can you guys have a quick look now and see if something strikes you?
This is it.
Well, Nathan, it looks like from a quick glance, nobody can find anything wrong. Let's move on from this one, and we will address it again if you ask it again, Nathan. All right, Neil Cheeseman asked a question titled "Track outbound links with A/B testing." On WordPress, I want to track outbound links and with A/B testing. Is anyone able to help with how to set this up or a plugin?
I've never actually needed to do that, but when I just do a quick Google search for track outbound links in WordPress, answer box comes up about utilizing event or top events in your outbound work. Sorry, in Google Analytics. So I haven't played around with that, so I don't want to actually comment on it. But I think there's also, looks like there's a couple different plugins here that goes in and supports the actual data that you're going to be collecting for, within analytics. I don't use WordPress very much.
So David Kuchar said, create a jQuery link click listener that grabs the unique ID of the link being clicked and sends the event to analytics.
That would be what they're saying pretty much in this article that I'm reading. So yeah, David's normally right on that one.
Right. And of course, we thank people like Alan Blyweis, who answer questions on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group through the week. It's much appreciated. All right, let's move on from here. And number 16 on your run list. Oh, we've got a hiccup on the server there. Oh, great. Uh-oh.
Well, that's new. Undefined.
Yeah, we've done that before. No, we haven't done that before. I'd say it's a glitch on my connection between here and the server at the data center in Brisbane. Anyway, Jonathan Maynard, that's a bit tricky, that name. Jonathan asked a question titled On-Page SEO Problems That Need to Be Fixed. Jonathan said, hello guys, I'm new here. I have a small question for one of our clients who has a really big problem being listed organically. Do you guys have any idea why? From our perspective, there are a lot of on-page SEO problems that need to be fixed. The client is gatinomaison.ca. You can see this link on the dumbseoquestions.com Facebook group. We also noticed that there's a huge duplicate problem for real estate people. The agency that did this website just duplicated all blog articles and content between companies. There are a few similar websites with the same website structure and content. Do you guys know what to look for a real estate company and how to solve our client's problem? How do you manage all houses that are listed on a few websites with similar content? Thank you. Uh-oh.
You know, I think with the real estate stuff, that's very tricky because everybody's using the same listings. I don't know how it is out in other countries, but I know here, you know, they've got the main listing database, and every website's got it. And then I think, you know, what makes other real estate agents separate themselves from the pack is going to be what else can you provide content-wise from that data feed, and then, you know, could you add maybe a 360 tour of the place, or a virtual tour of the property? Is there something else that you can do as a real estate agent to really help uplift the opportunity for that house to sell. At the same time as you're actually going back to the main listings and still collecting that. So it's additional work, of course, but it can be very beneficial in the long run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the issue for John is that he has to create content that isn't necessarily house listings. Of course, the house listings are all the same. But if he wants people to, I mean, I would throw, would you agree with me, guys, that we should throw away the site that is simply a copy of other real estate agents all using the same site and the same content? It's just useless, isn't it?
It is. It's repeating the same message, and it's more of a cookie cutter. So you see that even with franchises. You know, so when somebody's building a franchise, they have the main thing, and everything's just cookie cutter. What separates the pack? You know, what makes you different than everybody else is that's going to be the hard part. And hopefully these listings or these homes that you're selling are close by where you can, you know, if you're doing this all by yourself, you might have access to the home and be able to do, you know, pick up a tripod and a 360 camera. I mean, I've got one right behind me, but some of them are not that expensive where you can start to actually go through and shoot the picture, and now you've got a virtual tour that you can stick on that listing that nobody else has. And for not very expensive either. So I think some of those cameras are running a couple $100. You know, a nice tripod. Everything's done by your phone, so just walk in the house and, you know, walk away and then push the button, and it takes all the 360s all at once. Versus going out and having to spend a ton of money for a professional to come through. It might, I mean, you still get the same quality to a certain extent. The professional is going to have a more all the more expensive cameras and have a lot more experience doing this. But you get a couple of those under your belt, you're great. There might be some additional pictures you can just take. You know, walk in with your cell phone and take those pictures of the property where nobody else has got this. But now when you're trying to pitch to a buyer, we already have it. You know, here's how we can get this listing sold. Hope that helps.
Yeah, certainly does, William. All right, let's tweak this and move on. All right, Usman Ghani asks a question on, it's titled, I need your advice setting up a homepage title. Usman said, hi all, for my camping and hiking niche site, campinglane.com, I need your advice. Which homepage title will be best? 1, camping and hiking. It's all about camping gears. Well, first off, you'd correct the grammar and make it it's all about camping gear without the S. 2, camping and hiking, backpacks, tent and sleeping bags review. I suppose it's a toss-up, isn't it? But actually, I'll ask David Rozam, which one should that be? Sleeping bags reviews or sleeping bag reviews?
I'd have all the objects as singular, have put, and then the backpack, tent, and sleeping bag reviews, I'd say.
One thing to keep in mind with that is he's going to need the brand name in the title tag. So if they don't put it in, Google's going to put it in, which means they're going to rewrite your title tag. So something to keep in mind. If the page is the home page, then I think number 3, where you have the brand name in the front, works. Otherwise, if it's not the home page, I'd put the brand name in the back.
Yeah. I'd also do some research instead of just having it's kind of broken up. When you start to look at some of the advertisers, I mean, when you do a search on internet for sleeping bags or backpacks or tents, take a look at what they're actually showing up in their ads. There's a reason for having nice, clean ad copy, so you're going to have good click-through ratios to possibly, if you're getting them to the right destination, it's exactly what you're selling in your title and description. But that goes back to your organic. Your homepage title and description is going to be the same. Take some time and really kind of define it, but use better. I think a little bit broken grammar on that one. So maybe more of a call to action. You don't have to put everything in it. It's that's where additional pages, when you get to the sleeping bag page or the tents page, you're going to define those titles and descriptions just like you would if you were paying for that ad. You're going to spend the time to think about it, going all the way through. Not to say you didn't, but it's just a matter of go back and look at the research, what Cabela's is doing, what Bass Pro might be doing, or whatever other camping stores were in your area.
Yeah, I think that's something I come across quite a bit. People try and do too much with the home page. They try and put everything that's on the site in it in some way. You've got to have a hierarchy. You've got to think about how your site is siloed into sections. It's difficult to say without, as I think William said, without seeing your key phrase research, what to put on that home page. But don't try and do everything. It will mess up things. Be very clear about what each page is for, and what the content on the page is for, and why it's there.
Absolutely. You can also add to that with when you're actually looking at writing this, it's not set in stone. You can go back in your analytics and also see what it looks like. You can do a query and search with your business name, and now you'll see what your homepage looks like in the actual search engine, and you can then redefine it. If all of a sudden your words are being cut off because of the character count, you can easily modify that, shorten it up. Sometimes you have to pull out a keyword, pull out a word, put another keyword. So basically making sense of what the user is going to see when Google displays it.
Yep. All right. This one, I hope you'll find that useful. And let's move on to the next, number 18 on your run list, guys. It's titled "The Best Way to Target Landing Pages for SEO." It's for Ankit Patel, who said, "Hi guys, which is the best way to target landing pages for SEO? 1, display all service pages in the main menu with a mega menu, or 2, inner pages with a deeper directory structure. For example, home, breadcrumb, services pay-per-click or advertising to Google AdWords. Thanks, Ankit."
It depends how many services you've got, of course, but let's assume you've got lots of them. I would go for option 2. I like to make sure that every page on a site has got a clear function, that you're absolutely sure what it's doing. And if you're trying to make a site work for organic SEO, in as much as you're saying it's a landing page for SEO, I take it that means that you're going to get you're trying to get the targeted traffic from a particular key phrase or set of key phrases. to that page. So if you have too much on one page, then you get a muddle. And the more you put on the page, the less relevant that page content will be to any given searcher. They're interested in one thing. If you've got a page with a pair of red Wellington boots on, people who are looking for red Wellington boots will actually like arriving there. Now, if you want, if you have all your coloured Wellington boots on a Wellington boots page, then the person arriving there looking for red ones may not actually identify that this is what they want. So that's kind of a side issue. But if we accept that we're having lots of individualized pages, ideally, now you may argue there are certain situations where that may not work, but let's accept that at the moment. You're likely to find that you're going to have a real big mess of a main menu if you do that. The problem with going down the option 2, the option 2 route is that you may find that you end up with your pages way a lot of clicks away from the home page. Google may think that they're less important because of that. So try not to bury them too much, but try make them grouped, make them siloed, and make them logical. I think that's it. Yep. Over to someone who may have something else to add.
No, I think that was great. I would probably only add, you touched on user experience quite a bit, and navigation, not going too deep. Even, how many clicks are you away from the home page? Going back to the landing page piece, it goes back to what are you trying to accomplish? Are you selling a product? And if that product is just like everybody else is, you could probably be hurting yourself, not just SEO, but then you might be not price shopping or price comparing against other competition with you. You might not have a lot of information that they bounce out and go somewhere else. So the more that you can define that landing page per that product service, the better you're going to have for both. I mean, because eventually you want to actually start spending in paid advertising, and that goes back to not necessarily SEO, but clean user experience.
Yep. All right. Let's move on to the next. Number 19 will be the penultimate question for the night. Madeline Ross asked a question on robots text and sitemap after converting from HTTP to HTTPS. Madeline said, "Hi guys, robots text and sitemap. I've changed over a site from HTTP to HTTPS. One, added HTTPS property to analytics, linked to existing AdWords account. We do AdWords, so important to monitor. 2, submitted sitemap and verified. 3, changed robots text file to point to the sitemap. And the Google verification files are still in the root." Okay, for the Google verification files for www and non-www are still in the root. All right, and the question is, I'm concerned about the robots text and sitemaps files. Should there be 2 separate files, e.g. robots _ https.text and robots text for HTTP, same for sitemap? Note, there is only a HTTPS site now. How is this going to affect the site? Thanks.
There's a lot there, but one of the other things that I didn't get in this write-up was the htaccess file, forcing one www, sorry, forcing the HTTPS as well as whatever it was before. So what do you have it registered in Google Webmaster Tools? Did you also force that in your htaccess file so that it's always going to that one piece? The domain is, everything's already in there. Your sitemap is basically in the same root folder of everything in the server. So it's the controls, say the htaccess file. You've done everything already, it sounds like, with your Search Console, Webmaster Tools. But you know, the sitemap has already basically put that into the new version of Webmaster Tools. So all those are done. That's why the only thing I was wondering was probably going to be the htaccess file, and making sure that they're doing a 301 redirect from the HTTPS, or say HTTP to the HTTPS. So it's constantly always going. That way you don't have another duplicate issue as well, where some of it's secure and some of it's not. And there might be a small dip in the beginning too. You know, you switched everything over to it, but it shouldn't be too much. Most of the migrations I've done, I mean, you drop a little bit and then you come right back up. So. I hope I answered your question, but I don't know if I did.
Yeah, you certainly did, William. I just wanted to chime in with a gripe. I mean, Google knows that, you know, say you have a domain name, and so Google knows that you're going to have to set up the www version and the non-www and set a preferred version. And because of their enthusiastic promotion of HTTPS, we also have to set up an SSL version and a non-SSL version of the site. Now that's common to all sites. Why the hell can't they change Google Search Console? So we just put in the root domain, and Google then fills out the other four and allows us to, you know, select the preferred site with a radio button and so on. Why does it have to be such a pain in the butt?
I wish it was a little easier as well. I mean, there shouldn't be where I have to actually add all of those versions and then have the preferred, you know, set. They should know, but that's where it goes back to even the htaccess file. Forcing the HTTPS is going to be the key to going forward with that site, so that there's nothing that's going to go defaulted back to the old HTTP.
Yep.
Unfortunately. And the weird part is when you actually, you know, switch everything out, you'll see in your other non-HTTPS Search Console, all the traffic and site queries will drop, and then in your new one, they start collecting back in that new one. So, and it's pretty real time. I mean, it picks up within a couple of, like, 24 to 48 hours from what I've seen.
Excellent.
But it is important to have the HTTPS, and you know, there's that big push that Google's been doing, and there's been many different studies out there already being, you know, where they're showing that Google's showing more of the secures in their search results versus the others. But they've also said that if it's if the site content is equal to the other and one has HTTPS over the other, it may take that one. So.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to our last question, just in case we have our roving reporter about to jump in with an update on a pressing SEO issue in the UK. Adam Galagos asked the question, how important is traffic as a ranking signal? Is it possible to rank for and sustain a ranking for highly competitive keywords with little traffic? relative to competitors and on backlinks alone.
Traffic's traffic. You're getting traffic. I don't know if it's considered a ranking signal, but when you're in, Webmaster Tools, you're starting to see that those search queries that are coming through and what those average positions are straight from the search engine. Now, if you're not getting a lot of traffic or those don't have a lot of query requests, you're not going to have a lot of information to work from. You'll have your click-through ratios. You'll go back into your analytics and look at did they bounce, David? But I know. Sorry. You have to look at, basically, did they come in as a query and were they actually useful as a query? And then you can go back and say, okay, well, I'm getting all these crazy oddball queries that really are not related to me, and that might go back to your landing page. What's on it? David, jump in. You're muted.
Couldn't
So,
I'll leave Tim. Yeah, Tim's probably got something to pontificate about.
so look, yeah. So look, there's been a lot of there's been quite a few places that have done kind of studies in terms of traffic, click-through rates, and is it a ranking factor? Yeah, I think Moz has done some stuff. I think Stone Temple has done stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few people, so just check out their sites. Now, essentially, I think at the end of the day, at the minute, this is not like, if, for example, there was, 400 ranking factors, this is sitting around about, 350 there, because one, this is very, very hard to determine, because essentially, if you're getting traffic, you're being found, you are providing a use to someone, and people, it's not necessarily the traffic that's driving your position, it's potentially the other signals out there that are driving. So it's very hard to determine. This is like extremely hard to determine. That's it's very hard to determine. But I'm and it does work in different ways. If you are providing a good quality site, you're going to be found. People are going to start linking out, whether it be on other sites, socially, whether and as this authority and mentions and talk and, hey guys, read this, or I saw this, or whatever, starts building up, you're obviously producing content. Google is understanding you and your site better, and your positions are increasing. Increasing due to the fact that people are talking about you and coming to the site in terms of traffic. Or, if you're a one-page, it's very difficult to determine. I mean, you're going to have to do the thing. So I think Moz has done Stone Temple, and maybe even SearchPoint did something. I can't. There's a lot of guys that have done stuff to try and understand it, but because there's so many factors involved, I don't think you're ever going to get a direct answer on this.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, will we call that an answer? I'm going to record that as a yes. I'll just tweet that. And It's that time again, guys. We've done it again. We've answered all the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions, and also any questions asked on by our Twitter handle, Dumb SEO QS. If you're still watching, we thank you. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile, and we're grateful. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this